All right, shalom, shalom. It's Brother Tazadak here of Israel. Before I get started, I'd like to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Today we go to Isaiah chapter 5, going into the Hebrew. So, Lord willing, you're edified. Giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. So let's get right into it. Right? We don't necessarily need a prologue for this chapter because this chapter goes into future prophecy, and so let's get right into it. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 1, which reads, "I will sing now to my beloved a song of my beloved, to his vineyard, which is the vineyard, or Salakia, unto his vineyard. A vineyard was unto my beloved in strength, because that word Quran means horn or strength, denoting strength, right? The son of fruitfulness. Shaman actually means oil, but that's another way to say fruitfulness. So it reads Ashayara Na'a La Yad 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 Ya La Yad Yad Ya Shayarath Tadia La Karamwa Karam Haya La Yad Yad Ya Bakwaran Ban Shaman. The vineyard is talking about the nation of Israel, right? Just like in the book of Songs of Solomon, right? Let's get that real quick. Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Brakatham to the 144,000 and the great multitude that will be delivered out of America, Babylon the Great. In these latter days, 12 tribes of Israel, which consist of you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today, as well as those that look like other nations, but they are of the same seed, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They are Israelites, but they have taken women of the other nations, so their offspring looked like other nations, right? So let's go to Songs of Solomon, chapter 8, which goes into the vineyard, which is the nation of Israel, which also Apostle Ramlag recently went over that concerning the Lord's money, which is this truth given in measure unto each individual, and right, your job is to multiply that that money, which is the understanding, right? In these last days, as the word is going out, and the servants of the Lord are prophesying, right? In the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash, to the remnant of the nation of Israel, pursuant to Isaiah chapter 10, those that will return to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai in righteousness and in truth, right? So let's get that. What is it? Matthew 25. Because the scriptures say what? Book of Proverbs, to buy the truth and sell it not, right? The book of Isaiah says, come and buy wine and bread without money, right? Because when you receive the word, right, you're given a charge, right, to enter into other man's labors, like scriptures say. And, right, so you buy the truth, you sell it not, right? When you buy it, pursuant to Matthew chapter 13, it means what? You have found that treasure and you sell everything you have, right? That's in Matthew chapter 13. Get that real quick. BTTB, back to the basics, right? We're going over the word of the Lord. Matthew 13 and 44, which is the parables of the treasure and the pearl, which reads, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again. And in his joy, he went and sold all that he had and bought that field, right? Which is talking about bearing your cross, right? Just like the apostles, they did what? They forsake all they had. They followed Yahweh Shai, right? And you're gonna have those that follow him in the regeneration as well, right? Which is in the book of Saint John, Yahweh Shai said, I pray uh not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, which goes into the apostles and those that would follow after them, right? Via this understanding, right? That is going out, right? Understanding things like the Lord's name, receiving the pure language, which is the Hebrew, um, receiving the understanding of what the mark of the beast is, which is the RFID chip, understanding that Jacob's trouble uh, will come to a full end, and right things like martial law, FEMA camps, all hell breaking loose, the third woe, which is World War III, and the thermonuclear desolation of America, Babylon the Great. Right, these are the things that the Lord gave us, and in order to prepare for the marriage, which is to be delivered via the chariots of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right, in these last days. So it says the man found it, and he sold all that he had. Verse 45, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. When he found one very precious pearl, he went away and sold all he had and bought it. Salakia, spirit with me 1 second. Ah. Song of Solomon 8 and 1. Oh, that you were to me like a brother who nursed at my mother's breast. If I found you outdoors, I would kiss you, and no one would despise me. I would lead you and bring you to the house of my mother who taught me, right? Which is the house of the mother is like the law, statutes, and commandments, the volume of the book, ultimately, right? The prophecies, right? Right? All these things, right? Which the elect will receive. Says, I would give you spiced wine to drink, the nectar of my pomegranates. Reads, his left hand is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. O daughters of Jerusalem, I adjure you, do not arouse or awaken love until the time is right. Right? Which the scriptures say that the wickedness of America, Babylon the Great is reached unto the heavens. Right? The fullness of the times. Right? The scriptures say that, pursuant to the last book of Malachi, right? Elijah, right? Which is Abba Bivens, the truth coming out of Harlem, New York, 125th Street, 1 West, and the labors continuing via the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, right? Till the time is right to turn the heart of the children back into the fathers, and so on and so forth, right? Which is those that have entered into this before us, and um, ultimately the faithful continuing in the labors, right? Which is right, like it says in Book of Isaiah, the acceptable time, right? So the header for the next verse is the friends, which reads, and this is where the ministry is on the highways and byways, which is why it says in verse 1, if I found you outdoors, I would kiss you, no one would despise me, right? Verse 5, who is this coming up from the wilderness, leaning on her beloved, right? Which is talking about the nation of Israel, right? Which many say that Solomon was talking about a woman leaning on him, which is correct, but this is actually symbolic because we know that according to the regeneration, reincarnation, which is scriptural, right? Solomon was Yahushai, he was also Adam, so on and so forth, right? Which are the remnant which will lean on Yahushai and the Word, right? And receive the understanding of the prophetic word. Those are the friends, which is why Yahushua said, I call you no more servants, but friends, because you know my will. Next header is the bride. Says, I roused you under the apple tree. There your mother conceived you, right? Which is talking about the nation of Israel when they were placed formally into the Holy Land after the deliverance from ancient Egypt, which is the actual first captivity. A lot of people say it's Babylon, but it was actually ancient Egypt, right? It says there she travailed and brought you forth, which is the mother is actually the law, statutes, and commandments, the laws inscribed on tablets, and right, which is via the finger of God, which was the chariots, the engraving technology, right, which Esau was able to receive and somehow figure out how that works, which is why it has right things like 3D printers and engraving laser technology, right? Because the Lord gave him a certain amount of that understanding. It says verse 6, set me as a seal over your heart and as a seal upon your arm, right? Because your heart is your mind, which is in the Hebrew it's lab, right? The seal on the arm, which is why scriptures say that they have the Lord's name written in their foreheads. That doesn't actually mean you're gonna, right? Which this is what other philosophies do. You have monks that burn themselves in the head. You have Ishmaelites, which are the Arabs. They have what's called prayer marks, which they have marks in their forehead. They say it's from praying all the time, but these are all That's not what it's talking about concerning this precept. This is actually talking about, right? Like Yahweh Shai spoke about, he said, to have a single eye. It doesn't mean to have one eye. It's talking about having looking straight forward, right? Like the book of Proverbs says that, right, there's one that looketh about in the city, right, and stumbles or something to that extent, right? So you're either with the Lord or not, right? You either love this world or not. You can't serve God and mammon, right? Um, but you do have particular brothers that do have the gift of uh, of prospering in the world, and they may do what they can as far as being involved in the ministry. So it says, "Set me as a seal over your heart and a seal upon your arm," right? Which is what do you do with your arm? You do all activities with your arm, right? You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, right? Everything's done with the arm. That symbolizes action, right? Faith and works, right? Which is these other camps, right? IUIC, ISUBK, Sakari, they're carnal, which they want you to immediately wear the fringes. They say that you got to wear the fringes all the time. And that wasn't the point. They missed the point of the fringes was to look at them and not go a whoring after your own heart, right? So those are, and you read about that even in the book of Galatians, right? You had certain proselytes that they were bringing these Israelite foreigners, which were Gentiles, and immediately have them circumcised, right? You got to keep the law, which Paul the apostle, his approach was to wean them, right, by the word of the Lord, right? Not immediately, right? You got to keep, all right, you got to keep the law perfectly. Passover, you're 2 days in the truth, so you got to keep the Passover. No, you're supposed to be built up in this thing, right? Which is this is spiritual, right? Which is why on the left hand side, Esau Edom, his mark is carnal, right? Which is the charagma. You're gonna have to actually get the charagma, like right. It's an actual thing you're gonna receive, right, on the right hand or in the forehead, right. Um, that's Esau Edom's plan, right? Because 2/3 are carnal, right? They love the lust of the eyes and right material things, right? Because they're walking in the spirit of the beast, right? Conforming to its image, not the image of Yahweh Shai, right? So that's Esau Edom's plan, right? Which is he's a so-called white man today, right? We are the Israelites. We are in the latter days, and the prophecies are unfolding before your very eyes, right? Which is why you have these the revelation of Yahweh Shai Hamashayak, right? Who you call Jesus Christ, which is actually a so-called black man, right? You have the revelation of who God's chosen people are, right? Which are the Israelites, and the biblical prophecies, right, unfolding before your very eyes, right? So this is not like any other time. These are times of biblical proportions, right? So verse 6 says, "For love is as strong as death; its jealousy as unrelenting as Sheol, which is Sheol is the grave, which is in the Hebrew Sha'awal. Its sparks are fiery flames, the fiercest blaze of all. Mighty waters cannot quench love; rivers cannot sweep it away. If a man were to give all the wealth of his house for love, his offer would be utterly scorned." Right? because you gotta love to endure in this thing, right? Uh, you gotta offer up your reasonable service, right? The praise of your lips, right? Like it says in the book of Hosea, right? The Lord said, "Take words unto you." I believe that's Hosea 14:2. Take words unto you and return to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Render the cows of your lips, right? So not all of us are teachers, right? Which is why scriptures say, right, the great multitude will receive the word, right? The heads are the 144,000, right? And then you basically have an order to this thing, right? Not everyone is a prophet. Some of us are just, right? The Lord said He would send scribes, wise men, right? Certain helpmeets, right? You got readers, you got those that hold posts, you got those that help with the video technicalities, the recording, editing, right? So it says, for love is as strong as death, its jealousy as relenting as Sheol, right? Because even Paul the apostle, right? He said, you know, oh, that I will to put off my tabernacle, which is his body, right? But he said, is it is not that's not what is should be done yet, right? So Paul the apostle, he basically he wanted to die, but he said there's still work to do, right? So that's how uh, Satan is going to come at you, right? He's going to try to instigate, try to play mind games, right? Um, Unrelenting, right? Its sparks are fiery flames, the fiercest blaze of all, right? Which is why scriptures say to count the cost, right? The book of Second Ezra says that there's fire on the left, water on the right, and the narrow path. The path is narrow, right? Like Yahweh Shai said, wide is the way to destruction, and straight and narrow is the way into salvation, and there be few that find it. So it says, mighty waters cannot quench love, rivers cannot sweep it away, right? But you're gonna have the nations, right, via their council, Psalms 83, right, attempt to downplay the word or right, Operation Defame the Witness, right, try to throw us off, right, and even these other philosophies, right. But via the anointing, right, we know all things, right. So our love for Yahweh Bashim Shai is stronger than the currents of deception. So it says, if a man were to give all the wealth of his house for love, his offer would be utterly scorned, which is just talking about having balance in this thing, right? You got to know that there's a time to speak, a time to hold your peace, a time to lament, a time to rejoice. Verse 8, we have a little sister, and her breasts are not yet grown. What shall we do for our sister on the day that she is spoken of? If she is a wall, we will build a tower of silver to protect her. If she is a door, we will enclose her with panels of cedar. That's talking about just essentially those that are coming into the truth, right? Because you have these false pastors that they're not going to build you up the correct way, right? They're brought in to cause confusion, right? UIC, ISUPK, Sakari, to cause dissension. They come with their gimmicks, right? They have a form of truth, but they deny the godliness thereof, right? or something to that extent. So it says the next header is the bride, which says, I am, verse 10, I am a wall, and my breasts are like towers. So I have become in his eyes like one who brings peace. Solomon had a vineyard in Baal Hamon. He leased it to the tenants for its fruit. Each was to bring 1,000 shekels of silver. But my own vineyard is mine to give. The 1,000 shekels are for you, O Solomon, and 200 are for those who tend its fruit. Which is talking about the remnant, right? Which are going to bring the word correctly, which is why it says, so I have become in his eyes like one who brings peace, right? The word shalom means peace, to pay, but it also means uh, completion, to complete. So it says Solomon had a vineyard in Balhaman. He leased it to the tenants, right? For its fruit, each was to bring 1,000 shekels of silver, right? So the Lord gave us the vineyard, right? Charge over the remnant, right? To bring fruit, right? To produce 1,000 shekels of silver. So it says, but my own vineyard is mine to give, right? Meaning we didn't say, oh, okay, well, I want to be part of this thing. No, the Lord chose those to bring forth that fruit. You can't just wake up and say, well, I'm going to prophesy and, right, I'm going to become mighty in this thing. No, it's not what it's talking about. It says, and 200 are for those who tend its fruit, right? So Solomon has a money, which is Yahushai, right? 200 are for those who tend its fruit, which is as you're bringing forth fruit, you're multiplying the money, right? Which is the understanding. And you have, it says 200 are for those who tend its fruit. That's basically talking about those who are the elders, those that have been laboring in this thing. The bridegroom says, verse 13, you who dwell in the gardens, my companions are listening for your voice. Let me hear it. Which the bridegroom is Yahweh Shai. The voice of the Lord is the word, right? The prophecy is going out, right? Uh, like it says in the book of Habakkuk, the knowledge of the Lord will cover the earth like waters. Daniel chapter 12, knowledge will increase. Bride, Song of Solomon 8 and 14. Come away, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of spices, right? Basically, just going into hastening the day of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Matthew 25 and verse 14. For it is just like a man going to a journey, called his servants, and entrusted them with his possessions, which is a vineyard. To one he gave 5 talents, right? To one he gave 2 talents, to another 1 talent, each according to his own ability, and he went on his way, right? So you got some that been in the truth for 5 years, right? They're still reading, but they're still doing the work of the Lord. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You got some that came into the understanding for 2 years, and they were able to go out and prophesy, like it says here, each according to his own ability. And he went on his journey, which is Yahushua. He went on his journey. Verse 16, the servant who had received the 5 talents went at once and put them to work and gained 5 more. Likewise, the one with 2 talents gained 2 more. But the servant who had received 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. Right, which is putting the money in the napkin, right? Because you're scared, because right, you can't endure, right? Because you're offended, right? Which is why Yahushua said, "I tell you these things would happen, so you do not be offended," right? Which is why it says in the book of Revelation that what the fearful will not make it, right? Neither the adulterer, the whoremonger, right? Because this is what you still have Jake doing in the world, right? Killing, robbing, pimping. That's the whoremonger, right? Um, he that loveth that which is a lie, right? All these things is what Jake is doing in the world, right? So you can't be scared, right? Because you gotta have thick skin in this thing, which is why the book of Jeremiah says that I have made thy forehead adamant like a stone, right? So this is not for everybody, right? The ministry is not for everybody. You have those that are to learn in this thing, like the women, right? The children, and right, those that have not built themselves up to go out and teach, or right. That's pretty much it for that. See what else we can get. Matthew 13:47. Once again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was cast into the sea, and caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the men pulled it ashore. Then they sat down and sorted the good fish into containers, but threw the bad away. Which that's our job, just like the Levitical law says, to discern between the clean and unclean. That's in the book of Ezekiel as well. Book of Malachi, discern between the righteous and the wicked. The book of Revelation says, you have tried those that said that they're apostles and are not, but have been found liars. Right? Matthew chapter 22 and verse 1. And Yahweh answered, spake unto them by parables, and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Which is talking about when Israel was established as a nation, placed into their land formerly, and they rebelled. They all rebelled. Verse 3, and sent forth the servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding. They would not come. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the marriage, right? Which is talking about during the time of the ancient Roman Empire, right? So you always had messengers. Moses was a messenger, right? A deliverer. He was called a deliverer in the book of Acts, right? Because of the word that he spake, right? Just like the word that we're speaking. The words we're speaking is what? Is life, right? Is is pure light, right? The unadulterated truth, right? Matthew 22:5. But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city, right? Because when Yahushua came on the scene, the scribes, the Pharisees, not all of them, but they were jealous. They were seething with anger, right? Which is why they delivered up Yahushua and even the apostles, right? They all were killed except John the Revelator. So that's why it says they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. Because these Pharisees, they feared that the Romans would take their place, so they sought to put Yahushua to death. These same men are here today, right? You got the zealots, which you have Sakari. They call themselves zealots. The zealots were there back then. You have IUIC. They coming in that Pharisee spirit, right? Which is why it says that the wedding is furnished, the guest with guests. Every wedding has a location. Every wedding has a guest, right? So he sent forth his armies, right, which is the Roman armies, which plundered and destroyed Jerusalem. Verse 8. Then said he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy, right? Which is in these latter days, right? Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as you shall find, bid to their marriage. So the servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests. Verse 2, Isaiah 5:2. And he fenced, and he heaped up stones unto it. Which that word Isaac. Strong's H 58:23. Let's take a look at that word. To dig about, to fence about. Sequal means basically to weigh. It's another way to say gather stones, or shaqual, which is a shekel, which it just means weight. So he fenced it, and he gathered stones about it. and he planted it, natai, which is the root to plant, a noble vine, which is why Sirach was called Sirach, which is actually Sharyak, which just means a noble one. Or Sharak, noble vine. And he built a tower in its midst, and even a winepress. Well, this actually means a vat. Hewn, Hatazab, to dig, to cleave, divide, to cut, or to carve, to hew out stones, Salakia, just bear with me 1 second. Even a vat hewed in it, and he looked, which that word quad actually means to collect. It's another way to say look. Which it actually would say, and he gathered it to produce grapes, and he made it, and it produced wild grapes. Which that word is Ba'ashium, Strong's H891, which is poison berries, wild grapes, or sour grapes, because that word Ba'ash just means to stink. So it reads, Waya Izakwa, Waya Sequal Sequala Wa, Waya Tayawa, Sharak, Waya Ba Gadol, Bathawakwa, Wagam Yaquab, Katazab, Bawa, Waya Kwawa, La Aishath, Ainabium, Waya Aisha, Baashium. So that's talking about, right, when the nation of Israel was established. The very fruitful hill is Mount Zion. He fenced it, gathered stones thereof, planted it with the choicest vine, right? Meaning he protected Jake, the tribes, put his fear among the Canaanites, gathered out the stones thereof, meaning the Lord gave Jake these the villages, the palaces, everything in it, planted it with the choicest vine, right? Meaning the land was fruitful. Built a tower in the midst of it, right? And even you can compare it to the book of St. Peter, where it says, compares the elect unto living stones, right? Which is talking about the order that the Lord gave, right? The choicest vine were the heads, built a tower in the midst of it, right? What do you do in the tower? You watch, right? Which is why the Lord gave watchmen, made a wine press therein, right? The laws, right? The manner of life that he gave unto the Israelites, but they rebelled, right? And he had good hopes for the nation of Israel, but brought forth sour grapes or wild grapes. Jake rebelled, started sacrificing under every green tree, started learning the ways of the Canaanites, which they didn't get rid of completely. Which that was their mistake, right? Even though the Lord put His dread over the nations when Israel was placed in that land, right? And he started learning after the ways of the Canaanites. Isaiah 5:3, and now, inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge now between I and between my vineyard, which is what we're doing. And you had that back then, right? Because you had prophets like Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, so on and so forth, right? The Lord raised up the apostles during the time of the ancient Roman Empire, right? Paul the apostle, right? Particular men in the churches, which is why the remnant is known as the Tower of the Flock, the Tower of the Watchman, to watch over the flock, right? Which is why the book of Revelation, chapter 11, says there's an altar, right? And then there's a pillar, Isaiah 19, a pillar in the midst of Egypt. It's talking about the elect, right? There's an altar, which is the great multitude. The pillar is the elect, or the heads, right? which is why Paul the Apostle, when he rebuked Peter, he said, I perceive that they were pillars, right? Because that's symbolic of men that are, right, the elders, right? So it says, Wa Aita Yashab Yerushalayim, Wa Ayash Yahawada, Shapatwa Na'a, Bayan Ya, Wa Bayan, Karam Ya. But that's pretty much it for now, because I'm low on battery. So yeah, how about Shemi Al Shai Brakatham? Lord willing, you were edified. I'm gonna continue, Lord willing, the rest of the verses. So with that, Shalom, Kwame Shala Abad Babal, Shalom. Till next time.